A Catholic woman was in this intersection when she was struck and killed by a hit-and-run driver. Now members of her parish are helping to take care of her children. I'm Tim Harfman, and that story is coming up.
And the government shutdown continues, and border security is the reason why. Tonight, reaction to President Trump's primetime address to the American people. The Saudi woman who barricaded herself in a Thai bathroom granted asylum. Australia may soon be her new home. Plus, how one man's interest in technology saved him from a potentially life-threatening complication. The news starts right now. Good evening, everyone. I'm Liz Faublas. We begin tonight with a story of hope for a Brooklyn family after tragedy struck. The children's mother was killed in a hit-and-run crime in Gravesend last month. Currents News' Tim Harfman is here with how parishioners in the Diocese of Brooklyn are helping them cope. Tim.
Liz, Francine LaBarbera was walking home from the grocery store in December when a driver ran her over and then took off. She was an active parishioner helping out at Our Lady of Grace Church. Now members of the church are helping Francine's children.
Fran came to us and asked if anything ever happened, would we take care of her boys? And of course we said we would.
A commitment Anthony and Lisa Guarino never thought they'd have to fulfill until their friend, neighbor, and fellow parishioner at Our Lady of Grace Church, Francine LaBarbera, was killed last month.
Every other day there's an accident on the corner, so I said, oh, just another accident. I came in the house, sat down, put a cup of coffee to my mouth, the phone rang.
It was December 11th, 2018. Francine was struck by a hit-and-run driver and died feet from her Gravesend, Brooklyn apartment. She was 57. The Guarinos, who have 3 children of their own, knew their family was about to grow.
Automatically, I knew I had 5 kids.
To protect them during this difficult time, the Guarinos asked us not to identify the twin boys who are 16 years old. The Guarinos feel like they have a special connection to the boys. Anthony knew Francine her entire life.
Every time you see them, always smiling, happy-go-lucky, friendly with everybody, looking to help all the time, with the church all the time.
Francine attended Sunday Mass, organized church events, and volunteered at the parish's Catholic Academy. The twins asked Anthony to be their sponsor when they received the sacrament of confirmation. Currently, the teenagers are altar servers and Boy Scouts, honor students at their Catholic high schools. One of them runs track. Now the Guarinos are helping the boys cope with their loss. The stop sign on the corner now acts as a memorial for Francine. Caution tape from the day of the accident is still there.
The holidays were very difficult, so that was pretty tough on all of us. But, you know, we have our good days and we have our bad days, but for the most part, they're good and they're getting better.
Memorial plaques.
Father Vincent Chiricella, pastor of Our Lady of Grace, isn't surprised Anthony and Lisa took the boys in.
The Guarino family really came to meet the needs of these 2 boys is really a testament of what we believe in at Our Lady of Grace, that we are a parish with a family tradition, and it really is a testimony to how they are living out their faith.
At the outdoor grotto next to the church, a bench will be installed dedicated to Francine, a friend and mother who will not be forgotten.
It had to be God or Jesus put us on the same path, and you know, I want her to know that she's resting in peace and that we're doing all that we can to raise her boys the way she would have.
The Guarinos said other parishioners continue to stop by their house with money and food for the boys, and their high schools created trust funds so they can go to college. Liz.
Oh, Tim, that definitely is a feel-good story. Thank you so much for that. Turning now to other news, President Trump took to primetime last night to address the border wall crisis as the partial government shutdown continues, but he wasn't the only one speaking up. Natasha Chen is in Washington with the very latest.
I really believe the Democrats and the Republicans are working together. I think that something will happen, I hope.
On day 19 of the shutdown, President Trump and congressional leaders continue to meet and negotiate.
The White House seems to move the goalpost every time they come with a proposal. They walk away from it. Pretty soon these goalposts won't even be in the stadium.
This comes after Trump, then Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi made opposing televised speeches Tuesday night.
I don't think anybody's mind's changed. I think everybody's mind's made up.
The president still wants money for a steel barrier.
They say it's a medieval solution, a wall. That's true. It's medieval because it worked then. and it works even better now.
But Democrats argue the issue of border security funding should be independent of reopening federal agencies.
Our top priority has to be the 800,000 federal employees and their families.
Some moderate Republicans agree on ending the shutdown first, then continuing the border security debate.
Let's set them aside. Let's allow for the operations, these governmental functions in these 6 other departments, allow for them to continue.
Despite that, the president feels confident he'll win.
There's tremendous Republican support.
He did not use Tuesday night's address to declare a national emergency, but said that is a route he could take.
My threshold will be if I can't make a deal with people that are unreasonable.
In Washington, Natasha Chen, Currents News.
And an update on the border battle. President Trump tweeted late this afternoon that he had a meeting with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, but that, quote, it was a total waste of time. Having boots on the ground at the U.S.-Mexico border is expensive. In fact, it's a lot more expensive than expected. According to defense officials, the price tag is now estimated to reach $132 million by the end of January. That's $10 million more than was first projected. President Trump signing a new anti-human trafficking bill into law today. The act, named in honor of Frederick Douglass, authorizes $430 million to be spent over the next 4 years, all to help combat sex and labor trafficking both in the U.S. and abroad. The law provides resources for trafficking prevention, education for children, and reintegration assistance for survivors. Rod Rosenstein, the top justice official who oversaw the inquiry into alleged Russian meddling in 2016, is planning to quit. According to media reports, the Deputy Attorney General has already made the decision to step down. He was not forced out by the White House, despite frequently being a target of criticism by the president, and sources say Rosenstein is planning to stay until Attorney General nominee William Barr is confirmed. Rosenstein has yet to comment on the reports. For days, the international community has been closely following the harrowing story of a Saudi teenager and her desperate attempt to gain asylum amid claims she was abused by her family. Now, the UN has granted her refugee status. Currents News' Emily Druby has the details.
A Saudi teenager has been recognized as a refugee by the United Nations after her story gained international attention.
I'm not leaving my room until I see UNHCR. I want asylum.
18-year-old Rahaf Mohammed Al-Kahun was attempting to pass through Bangkok airport after a flight from Kuwait. The teen, shown here with members of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, told the organization, also known as UNHCR, she was stopped and had her passport taken from her. Immigration officials then attempted to deport the teen back to the Middle East. That's when Al-Kahun barricaded herself in a Bangkok airport hotel room. The UNHCR released a statement saying she told them, quote, she claimed that she fled her family fearing for her life and had been planning to head to Australia, where she hoped to seek asylum. Media reports say the family issues stemmed from the teen renouncing Islam. While inside her hotel room, Al-Kahun and several friends helped her use social media, namely Twitter, to communicate. In tweets, she wrote about fear, officially announced she was seeking refugee status, and begged for help from the UN, more specifically the UNHCR. While the UNHCR says generally it's the state's responsibility to determine the status of asylum seekers, occasionally they will step in and help, quote, where states are unable or unwilling. UNHCR was eventually given access to Al-Kahun, who was shown here leaving the hotel under their protection. The UN then gave Al-Kahun refugee status, but that doesn't mean she's safe. Another country still has to agree to take her in. According to the BBC and NBC, her case has been referred to Australia, but has not yet been approved. Emily Druby, Currents News.
The Secretary of State made an unannounced visit to Iraq this morning. Mike Pompeo touched down in Baghdad. Early Wednesday, he met with several Iraqi leaders, including the country's prime minister and its foreign minister. He also toured the United States Embassy. This is Pompeo's first trip to Iraq since the new government took over. An update to a story we reported last night. Migrants that were stranded in the Mediterranean for weeks are now disembarking in Malta. 49 people, including several children, were on 2 ships from North Africa that were refused permission to dock by both Malta and Italy. The situation on board both ships was said to be deteriorating, with food and water running short. Pope Francis made public pleas for their rescue. The Order of Malta has remained a constant presence in Iraq after the end of the Islamic State, helping to rebuild after the destruction. Melissa Butts has that report.
As is usual every year, the Grand Master of the Order of Malta delivered his speech to the diplomats accredited to the order. It's when this humanitarian organization reviews the global situation and examines how it helps to alleviate the suffering caused by 36 open conflicts that are ongoing throughout the world. One of their projects is their work in Iraq after the end of the Islamic State. In the Middle East, the Order's support of both Christians and non-Christians is not only a way of improving the lives of a population that have faced armed conflicts for years, it's also a message of coexistence. For example, in Bethlehem, they work side by side with Christian and Muslim personnel in this health center. Additionally, in Lebanon, due to the overwhelming amount of refugees from Syria and Iraq, the Order runs 10 ambulatories and 4 mobile clinics.
This program aims to meet the needs of both the refugees and their host communities, enabling the two groups to build stronger social and cultural links and to promote social cohesion.
The Order staff and volunteers assist wherever a human being needs help, regardless of race, creed, or nationality.
In Bangladesh, relief teams manage 3 medical centers in the refugee camps for this persecuted minority, providing healthcare, food for starving children, and psychosocial support.
The Order maintains diplomatic relations with 108 countries of the world, as well as with dozens of first-class international institutions. With all, there's a single objective: to console and help in the midst of the worst of tragedies. Melissa Butts, Currents News.
In New York, one day after announcing comprehensive health care for all residents, Mayor Bill de Blasio is now aiming to make New York the first U.S. city to require paid vacation. De Blasio's proposal would require private employers with 5 or more employees to provide 10 days per year of paid time off for any reason.
Today, we're going to talk about something groundbreaking. We are literally talking about something that's the first time any city or state in this nation has done what we're about to do. For the first time, we will be the first city or state in this nation to guarantee all workers 2 weeks paid vacation.
If passed by the City Council, this would impact more than 500,000 workers currently without any paid time off. Catholic funeral services for the latest New York City firefighter to die in the line of duty will begin tonight in Marine Park, Brooklyn. Stephen Pollard, who had only been on his dream job for a year and a half, is being hailed a hero after responding to a car crash on the Belt Parkway's Mill Basin Bridge and falling to his death on Sunday night. Thousands of people are expected to join family and friends to say their final goodbyes, beginning right now at Marine Park Funeral Home from 7 to 9 p.m. and then Thursday from 2 to 4 and 7 to 9 p.m. His funeral mass will be held at Good Shepherd Church in Marine Park this Friday at 11:30 a.m. Quick programming note for you here. NetTV will be airing a special hosted by Bishop Nicholas DiMarzio tonight. The program highlights 4 listening sessions where Bishop DiMarzio talked about the sex abuse crisis that's been in the headlines. In the meetings, he presents data to parishioners and then takes their questions. The regional meetings with Bishop DiMarzio and the lay faithful airs after Currents News tonight at 7:30. Right here on NetTV. Still ahead, a disturbing story out of Arizona. A woman in a coma for years gives birth, and now investigators are trying to find the man who got her pregnant. The Coast Guard is out saving lives despite the government shutdown. What one brave service member is saying about his latest rescue. And Auxiliary Bishop Octavio Cisneros is back from his trip to Guatemala after last June's deadly volcanic eruption. It's one of the stories in this week's tablet, and Jorge Dominguez will be here with a preview of what the bishop saw. Tonight, a case that is sparking outrage nationwide. An Arizona healthcare facility is under investigation after one of its patients gave birth despite being in a vegetative state. Sarah Seidner has that report.
A stunning revelation at a healthcare facility in Phoenix. The San Carlos Apache tribe said one of its members, a 29-year-old woman living in a vegetative state for more than a decade, was impregnated and had a baby while in the care of Hacienda Healthcare. Legal analyst and attorney Brian Claypool says there is only one explanation for what happened.
If the woman in Phoenix was in a vegetative state and she gave birth to a child, then she was raped because she could not have consented to a sexual relation.
Karina Cessna, whose 22-year-old daughter is also a patient living at the facility, says she and another mother panicked when they heard about the case.
We were just so scared because who knows what would happen if it was a staff member, if it was a family member, if it was a stranger. We have no idea.
Cessna's daughter is unable to walk and barely able to talk after suffering brain damage, leaving her extremely vulnerable.
I stay here 24/7 now to make sure that she's in a safe environment as well and just move forward because trust has been severely broken.
As for the company's CEO, Bill Timmons, he resigned earlier this week. And Hacienda Healthcare's board sent out a statement calling what happened an absolutely horrifying situation and an unprecedented case, without giving specifics of the case. Phoenix police say they are investigating, but have offered no additional details about the case. Then on Tuesday, Hacienda Healthcare sent this statement saying police served a search warrant to obtain DNA from male staffers. The company said it welcomed the development in the investigation, but Cessna says the healthcare company didn't even inform the families of other patients at the facility about the incident until about 5 days after the birth, and only after local news reports exposed the situation.
Instead of being transparent, they're not being very transparent at all.
While the government remains shut down, the U.S. Coast Guard continues to serve. Crews in Lake Michigan jumping on a call for help Tuesday morning after a man aboard a 1,000-foot freighter hit his head on board. While the shutdown is keeping him from getting paid, one Coast Guard member says he is still happy to do his job.
Obviously, we were kind of like, hey, we need that kind of urgency. It felt really good. It's a rewarding job at times, and it was an awesome experience for our crew.
Thanks to the Coast Guard, the man made it to the hospital and is expected to be okay. The Diocese of Brooklyn is committed to helping others, and that includes its newspaper, The Tablet. Throughout the holiday season, the paper has been collecting donations to help children have a brighter Christmas. Its editor-in-chief, Jorge Dominguez, joins me now to reveal the grand total. Okay, Jorge, drum roll, please. How much did the Bright Christmas campaign raise?
$105,000.
Amen. That's wonderful.
It was wonderful, especially this year with all the challenges that we had, to see the generosity of people. And then the best part for me personally, to receive now all the letters of the organizations and parishes talking about what they did with the money. It is wonderful, Liz.
Absolutely wonderful and very good to hear. Now let's talk about a big story in this week's paper involving a bishop from our own diocese, Octavio Cisneros, who we all know and love. Why did he travel to Guatemala?
Well, he traveled to Guatemala wearing two hats. The first hat was the auxiliary bishop of Brooklyn, envoy from Bishop DiMarzio. In Guatemala, they had an eruption of a volcano, the volcano of fire last year. More than 100 people dead, several villages destroyed. And in this little diocese of Guatemala, they asked the Diocese of Brooklyn for help. And we did a collection here for them, and Bishop Cisneros, representing Bishop DiMarzio, was to Guatemala to handle $75,000 for them.
But it went beyond that, right? It went beyond the financial. How did it benefit the people of Guatemala?
Well, the first thing is that he visited, a shelter that they have for the families that don't have a home now, and he met there the religious women from Mexico who are doctors and helping the families. And it's always, to make those people feel like they are not alone, that somebody's with them. So it was bringing the money, but bringing the presence of the Diocese of Brooklyn there. It was a wonderful experience, and you have to read the article.
I definitely will. Always appreciate the work that our priests and bishops do in our diocese. Thank you, as always, Jorge.
Thank you, Liz.
You know, your support for the tablet ensures that Catholic journalism will thrive well into the future. These are stories that oftentimes can't be found anywhere else. You can subscribe to the tablet right now. Save up to 55%. Go to the website, thetablet.org/home55, or you can call 1-877-883-8356. Pope Francis was greeted by thousands of pilgrims for his second general audience of the new year. In his catechesis, he reflected on the gospel passage in which the disciples asked Jesus to teach them how to pray.
Preghiera trasforma sempre la realtà, sempre. La preghiera trasforma, sempre. Trasforma la realtà. Se non cambiano le cose attorno a noi, almeno cambiamo noi, cambia il nostro cuore.
The Holy Father also said that God attends every prayer and cares for every person. Still to come on Currents News, a piece of the iconic New York City skyline is up for sale. Find out why it's on the market. Wearable technology is saving lives, how one man's love for technology potentially saved his. We'll be right back. A piece of the Manhattan skyline is now up for sale. The owners of the iconic Chrysler Building have decided to hire a group to sell the property, saying modern business conditions have caught up with the building. The Art Deco skyscraper has been a part of the New York City skyline since 1930 and sits as the sixth tallest building in the city. One man in New Hampshire credits wearable tech for saving his life after his Apple Watch detected something potentially dangerous that sent him straight to the emergency room.
You just put your finger here.
Barry Maiden is a self-described tech geek. It's part of why he wanted to buy himself this Apple Watch. But he also keeps a close eye on his health after suffering from a brain injury.
He originally got it because they have a new fall risk app, right?
Yeah.
Where if he were to fall and I'm not nearby, the fall sensor will sense that he fell and then call 911.
But in this case, it actually ended up detecting something new.
And it said, looks like your heart is an AFib. You should contact your doctor.
AFib, or atrial fibrillation, is an irregular heartbeat that, if left untreated or undetected, could lead to stroke or other heart complications. The watch showing Barry and his wife Tara what his actual heartbeat looked like.
When I got to the ER, they did an actual EKG on a cart with the real deal.
Sure enough, the medical professionals told Barry the same thing. He was in AFib.
Probably had taken me longer to get to the doctors had I not had something actually telling me that something's not right.
He was sedated. His heart essentially stopped and restarted by doctors. Now this small piece of technology suddenly seems like so much more to them.
Instead of being just kind of a toy or a tchotchke, I think I'll probably pay closer attention to it.
Just grateful, blessed.
Oh, I may have to add an Apple Watch to my wish list. Good for him. That is Currents News. I'm Liz Faublas. Stay tuned for a NetTV special, Regional Meetings with Bishop DiMarzio and the lay faithful of the diocese in Brooklyn and Queens begins at 7:30. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.